I have the doubler set up here. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the doubler, but what I encourage people to do, if you want to like learn more about a specific thing, just go on YouTube and search doubler. See a bunch of videos and just watch them all, and get everybody's opinions and all their settings and what they like to do, and just do that on every single plugin or every single type of plugin that you want to learn more about. Just dive deeper into that. Then I have this other one here set up. It's called Pitch. I'm using this Pitch plugin that comes with Pro Tools, but it's essentially a doubler as well. It's doing a very similar thing. And I have these both set up. Sometimes I'll pick and choose one that I like that's sounding better for this track, or sometimes I'll actually blend the two of them together because they have a little bit different tone to them.
Work hard, play hard, that's the motto. I ball like I hit the lotto. I make moves and bitches follow. In my DMs, he wanna suck and swallow. Sharpening my skills, I stay working hard. You know I elevate bar at the bar.
A couple more that help give us a little bit more of that stereo width. Imaging, another H delay plugin. This one is set to the ping pong, so it goes left and right. Very short, 30-second note. So if I raise it, you'll hear.
Work hard, play hard, that's the motto. I ball like I hit the lotto. I make moves and bitches follow. In my DMs, he wanna suck and swallow.
And that's another way you could achieve that kind of stereo width. And there's one more, this one I call it Vox Wide, but it's this vocal splitter plugin. And it's like a stereo imaging plugin, but this one also adds width to the vocals. So I have a bunch of these different kind of things set up, and I'll dial in the right balance or remove, pick which ones that I like for that particular song. But that's something that I'm usually very concerned with, is kind of like the stereo field and how the vocal is filling out the whole track. I don't want it to just sound like it's like
centered.
Yeah, and full.
That makes sense.
So I do a lot of this kind of processing to help achieve that.
Work hard, play hard, that's the motto. I ball like I hit the lotto. I make moves and bitches follow. In my DMs, he wanna suck and swallow. Sharpening my skills, I stay working hard. You know I
What I would do at this point, now we have some ad libs.
You would just feed it into.
I already did all this work setting all these settings how I like them, so I'm just gonna duplicate this track now the way it is. So I have all my settings, and then the way I like to do it, I'll send it to a different bus, this is a different folder track. So this is my ad lib mix. So I just adjust that here in Pro Tools with the bus. I change the output to the ad lib mix, and now it's getting routed to this track, going through this set of plugins. And the first thing I'm going to do is raise the clip gain, because I think we're going to have to do that again. And let's just listen to these by themselves.
Throw your hands in there. Nobody is spared. Yeah. Okay.
Again, the first thing I'm hearing is the, in between noises, the room tone or the breaths or the little pops and clicks. We want to get rid of all of that. And there's quicker ways to do it too, like in Pro Tools. If you do Command U, it'll open up this strip silence application, and you can kind of dial it in, automatically strip the silence in between the audio regions if you get the settings right. So that's a cool thing to look into also. That's a time saver. So you just select the region, hit strip, and it kind of does the work for you. So that's definitely helpful. So right now I have all the same settings on the ad libs. The only difference is I have this micro shift plugin on the bus. This is giving me some stereo width. So this is spreading out the ad libs. It's giving them a different tone, putting them kind of in their own space, different, separate from the vocal. And you could use a lot of different plugins. You don't have to use the micro shifts. I like to use the RC20 plugin sometimes, and you could kind of dial that in. That has a stereo width feature. It has a reverb in there, some distortion. So you could use that to get a different tone to your ad libs. You can go for more of a telephone effect. There's all different ways you could sauce up your ad libs, but I usually like this starting point, using the micro shift, spreading them out, and then adjusting some of these sends, maybe putting some more reverb or delay, just to give them their own flavor kind of.
I ball like I hit the lotto. I make moves and bitches follow. In my DMs.
I also don't want the ad libs to be as present in this.
Yeah, you want it to kind of be in the back.
Yeah, so one thing I'm going to do is actually remove some of these sends, like this Aphex exciter and the doubler the doublers. You know, we don't need all that sauce on the ad libs to help bring them out.
That's the motto. I ball like I hit the lotto. I make moves
And I also have this other EQ. You could roll off some low end or some top end.
I stay working hard. You know I elevate bar at the bar. I leave bar at the bar.
You know, it depends how far you want to go.
Mhm.
What else?
You could do something like that.
What else?
Like the telephone effect.
Telephone effect.
Okay.
They have a good preset in here too called phone.
Why?
It's a
Mhm.
little different.
Too much pride.
You know, if you want it to sound a little clearer, let some more brightness in,
Mhm.
some more top end.
Working hard. Elevate bar at the bar. I leave egos bruised and scarred. I'm the type of chick who likes to take charge. I do what I
You know, and feel free to go crazy with the. I
Mhm.
think ad libs are a good place to try different.
And be creative. Mhm.
Yeah, try different sounds and stuff like that. A cool thing to do is pan them back and forth. You know, you could do that manually in Pro Tools or whatever. You can go to pan and just set the automation, have one go left ear, one go right, that kind of thing.
wanna be nobody in spirit.
You know, just give it some
The lotto.
make it more interesting, and you could pan it varying amounts depending on what sounds good.
The lotto. I make moves and bitches follow. In my DMs, he want.
It's also a lot of work to go through and manually do it, but it's kind of more exact. But
You
you
can
could
get it
also
how you really want it.
right, or you could just throw an auto panner on there like this one and kind of dial it in, you know, to a setting that'll generally work.
The motto. I ball like I hit the lotto. I make moves and bitches follow. In my DMs, he wanna suck and swallow. Sharpening my skills, I stay working hard. You know I elevate bar at the bar. I leave egos bruised and scarred. I'm the type of chick.
So the options are basically endless.
The options are endless, and you know, once you get it to a point where you have it sounding clear and crisp and, you know, sitting right in the track, then I think that's a good point to experiment and try different plugins and distortions or reverbs or modulation, you know, and try different weird things at that point once you have that really solid vocal sound.
Mhm.
That helps. Now with the hook, let's check this out really quick.
Be me, I got too much pride. Big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide, slide. If we don't like the disrespect, you know my bitches gon' slide, slide. New whip, new fit, new drip, you know I'm finna.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of do the same thing. I'm just gonna,
Send it to its own. Duplicate, send it to its own bus.
yep, I'm gonna duplicate this. Now we have a copy of this track with all our vocal chain. Put that on there, and I'm gonna make two more. And you know, you could do different settings for these hook tracks, these background tracks. I might probably gonna tweak them a little bit, but it's a good starting point because we know this chain is gonna get it sounding, you know, pretty good as a start. So let's delete these tracks. Okay, let's take a listen.
Got too much pride. Big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide.
I'm gonna start with one and then blend in the other two. Get a good balance of the three first.
Big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide, slide. If we don't like the disrespect, you know my bitches gon' slide, slide. New whip, new fit, new drip, you know I'm finna slide, slide. Money in the bank, but I need a little more. I slide, slide. Everywhere we go, you
It's starting to sound a little like a lot going on, I feel like. So what I'm gonna do is get rid of these delays that I have on the background layers and see how it sounds if I clean that up.
big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide, slide. If we don't like the disrespect, you know my bitches gon' slide, slide. New whip, new fit, new drip, you know I'm finna.
Now to me that sounds a little cleaner. These background layers also echoing. Now, there's a lot of different approaches you could take with this. You could make them sound more blended in and make it sound kind of more like one.
One powerful.
Yeah, or you could have it kind of more spread out, so it sounds, there's a lot of different ways. So I would maybe try making one left ear and one right ear, see if that sounds good.
Big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide, slide. If we don't like the disrespect, you know my bitches gon' slide, slide.
Now, when you do that, it's going to make the background stand out more, which could be good, but it could also point out, it kind of puts a magnifying glass on it, and you see where they're not exactly lined up with the lead vocal. I heard a couple of little timing differences more when I pan them. If you do like that pan sound, you can go in and edit it so it sounds tighter. So,
big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide.
So like it sounded like this one started a little early, this slide. So I'm gonna bump this back and bump this back so they match this waveform.
Big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide, slide.
To me, that sounds a little better. This one's still starting a little early, so I'm just gonna fade it in.
Big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide.
And that sounds tighter. But you could also just pan them more down the middle or a little bit less left and right, and that'll also make it sound tighter because it's not going to be as exposed.
Big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide, slide. If we don't like the disrespect, you know my.
And of course, I would go through and edit all this stuff. I'd usually with those breaths, if you do want to leave the breaths, I would leave them on the main track and remove
And then take them out. Okay.
Because then it just builds up and it sounds like it's too much. And if you're not breathing in the exact same spot, then it starts to sound messy. So you just get rid of, on the background tracks, you clean them up even more, I would say. And then another thing I like to do sometimes is go in on the EQ and remove some of the low mid, because that's an area in the vocal
where it gets muddy
up and get muddy, especially when you have a lot of layers. So I'll go to the layers and cut some of that out.
Big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide, slide. If we don't like the disrespect, you know my bitches gon' slide, slide. New whip, new fit, new drip, you know I'm finna slide, slide. Money in the bank, but I need a little more. Slide, slide. Everywhere we go, you know we valid.
And basically just do whatever you got to do to get it to sound the way you
want it.
Artist wants it to sound, So you might have to put more reverb on the background tracks. You might want to de-ess them more. You might want to EQ them differently or pan them differently or put different effects. My general instinct is kind of leave it like this, where they kind of sound like one kind of unit.
Powerful.
And then another thing you could do right now, it's just basically the same vocal sound as the verse. So if we want to make the hook a little bit more unique, we'll grab all these. I'm going to go to move to a new folder, do a routing folder. So this is kind of like sending it to a bus. And we're going to call this the hook mix. So now all of our hook tracks are going here. I want to copy over some of these plugins, verse mix, and copy this volume setting so everything sounds the same.
Big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide.
So now we have our hook going to a separate mix, which gives us more control. So we could EQ this differently if we want. We could put, an effect, another plugin on here. Let's add a little bit of distortion. Let's say we want like a distorted tone. So I'm going to go to harmonic. I like this one, the Manny M distortion. I'm going to turn the drive down a little bit.
Big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide, slide. If we don't like the disrespect, you know my bitches gon' slide.
So that kind of sounds like a guitar amp kind of distortion. The flavor you might want. This is a part where it gets very subjective. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what the person wants, what the artist.
So if you develop a relationship with an artist over time, you kind of learn what they like, and you can kind of dial in something you think that they would dig, even if they're not there. But a lot of times it is helpful to have them in the room and kind of collaborate with them and say, hey, which direction do you want to take this in? That's just throwing a phaser on the hook track. And you could do any kind of effect, just to make it sound unique. Or you can make it sound similar to the verse. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. A lot of times I'll do that and I won't do any kind of effect. I'll just turn up maybe the reverb and the delay on the hook section to make it sound a little bit different than the verse.
That could never be me. I got too much pride. Big booty bitches, throw your hands in the air and slide, slide. If we don't like the disrespect, you know my bitches gon' slide, slide. New whip, new fit, new drip, you know I'm finna slide, slide. Money in the bank, but I need a little more. Slide, slide. Everywhere we go, you know we valid.
And just by turning up the delay and the reverb a little bit, it gives it kind of its own
So vibe.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes you don't really have to do too much differently, especially since you already have the backing layers. It gives it its own tone for the hook too. Uh, but I would tweak this a little bit more, listen through it on the speakers, listen through it on some,
Keep going back and forth. Take some
go
time
back,
away.
listen
Come
to
back.
plugins, and then I'd send it to you, the artist. I'd get your feedback and go from there, kind of thing. So
You're really meticulous with your mixing of vocals, so it shows that you put a lot of time and energy into kind of learning about different plugins, trying to perfect your craft. So it's pretty dope. Like it's fire.
word, thanks.
I didn't know it was gonna be like, a lot of times you'll see people and they don't have like a lot of plugins. Like you said, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's what sounds good. But the fact that there's so many like nuanced plugins on top of plugins just shows that you really put like time and energy and effort into really honing in on your ability to mix. So that's really dope. And I think people will really gain a lot of like insight on how to like start out, what things to use, what things not to use, and to kind of create their own mixing template.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and a lot of this has kind of just been developed over time. It started off with me using way less plugins, and then I said, how could I control this even more? How could I get it to sound closer to the way I want to sound?
Mhm.
And I'll try and experiment with different things, and I'll say, oh, this decapitator works pretty good. I'll start incorporating that more. And then you'll do some tracks maybe where the mix just comes out really good for this particular song, and you're like, wow, what did I do on that one?
Mhm.
You go back to the session and copy some of those settings and make that a new template. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So a lot of it's just building off of what you've been doing in the past and kind of adding on and tweaking. And I'm actually going to go through pretty soon and tweak this template some more because I've been changing some of my processes and some plugins and stuff. And so I might want to update this a little bit. And I'm gonna, you keep doing it over time and you get it closer and closer to how you want it.
Mhm. All right, well, thank you, Mike, for hopping on my channel and just giving some insight on how you mix vocals. I'm definitely gonna have you come back because you're super knowledgeable and you said that you would come back. So I'm gonna hold you
Yeah.
to that. But
Yeah, I'd
yeah,
love to come
thanks.
back.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Bangagurl.
Big booty bitches getting money, throw your hands in the air. Murder any rapper on the beat, nobody is spared. Work hard, play hard, that's the motto. I ball like I hit the lotto. I make moves and bitches follow. In my DMs, he wanna suck and swallow. Sharpening my skills, I stay working hard. You know I elevate bar at the bar. I leave egos bruised and scarred. I'm the type of chick who likes to take charge. I do what I want when I want, that's the vibe. Even if I'm sober, I stay hella high. Why talk shit?